Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. I'm your host, Eric Triple E. Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR, or maybe from some of these other Locked On podcasts that we do. But today, 49ers, they have the nice bye week that comes right at the perfect time. And you're thinking maybe the 49ers can get healthy, some guys can come back. But one guy who you probably will not be seeing coming back after the bye week is Brandon Aiyuk. John Lynch talked about it a little bit this week.
Hey everyone, it's Dwayne Boyd, four-time Super Bowl champion, and it's December, and December is playoff time. That's when teams make the run for the playoffs. The 49ers are sitting at 9-4, and are they looking ahead, or are they going one game at a time to make the run for the playoffs?
Hey everybody, Brian Peacock here of Locked On 49ers, and man, what a great time for the 49ers. Sit at home, rest, get healthy, and climb in the standings. How high can they climb? Might they be the 2 seed by the next time they play a football game?
Endless possibilities for the 49ers this week, and the endless possibilities for the Locked On 49ers Squad Show, which starts right now.
To all the faithful, it's the 49ers Squad. Everything San Francisco 49ers every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from Levi's Stadium. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. For those faithful to the Bay, the 49ers Squad Show starts now.
What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. Shout out to all our everydayers making us your first listen for anything you need to know 49ers. However you're getting the show, whether it's the YouTube version, the audio version, we appreciate you tuning in, and make sure you're subscribed on any and all platforms. I mean, why would you ever want to miss a Locked On 49ers show? And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action all season long this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL bets all season long. And the 49ers are on their bye week, and this comes at the perfect time for this team. As we were just kind of discussing, this is a team that has been, kind of limping along all year, but somehow still has a pretty solid record, finds themselves in the middle of this playoff race. But I want to start today's show with the Brandon Aiyuk news, or rather, the lack of news around Brandon Aiyuk. It's more of the same. It's a guy who's been kind of MIA this season. At the beginning of the year, you saw him kind of running around on the on the sidelines during practice, and you heard all these rumblings of, oh, he's looking pretty nimble. Maybe he's getting ready to come back a little sooner than we've expected. And I kind of cautioned everyone when we were hearing all that, bluster, that this is the 49ers. This is a team that historically lies right through their teeth every single time that they have an injury to any kind of a major player. And I expected them to kind of do the same thing with Brandon Aiyuk. I even said at the beginning of the season, I would not be shocked if this guy does not play a snap for the 49ers in 2025. And lo and behold, it's trending more and more and more towards that exact thing happening. And I mean, Kyle Shanahan has kind of, skirted this a lot, where he's been saying he's week to week, he's week to week, he's week to week. But this week, John Lynch said on KMBR, realistically, I'm not sure. He said, hopefully, yeah, I think that's where I'd leave that. We're a better football team when Brandon's out there, but that's probably what it is. Hope right now. That's an exact quote from John Lynch on KMBR. And man, that is not what you want to hear. If you're a 49er fan, that's not, it doesn't sound like this guy's going to be back out there. And for somebody that they just paid a just absolute massive king's ransom to keep in a 49er uniform, this is frustrating. I'm definitely at the point where I am just straight up frustrated with this whole situation with Aiyuk and the 49ers. And Brian, I want to get your opinion on this. What do you think first is going to happen with Brandon Aiyuk and the 49ers? Do you expect him to come back at all at this point? If the 49ers make a playoff run, maybe he comes back for that. But in addition to that, are we ever going to see Brandon Aiyuk in a 49er uniform again? Things seem not very close between these two sides right now. And it's kind of confusing as to why. So, Brian, let's start there. Does Brandon Aiyuk play a game for the 49ers this season? And does he play a game for the 49ers ever again?
No, I don't think so. I think we're on a crash course for Brandon Aiyuk to be cut in the offseason. I think that's really the only way this thing is going to end, because I don't see Brandon Aiyuk coming back. Judging by John Lynch's comments. He also said something about how there's nothing different now after the news broke through the media about the guarantees that were voided. There's nothing new there. There's been no communication all along. So this has been a long process, and I don't see what end there would be to it. And judging by some of the cryptic messages from earlier on in the offseason that didn't make sense at all at the time and now make perfect sense from Brandon Aiyuk talking about his chicken. My son, 7 years old, loves himself some chicken nuggets. So he even understood when I was trying to talk to him about this. I was like, man, he's not getting his chicken. And my son's like, yeah, I get it. I wouldn't show up without my chicken either. And so he's not going to show up without his guarantees being reinstated, I would imagine. And the Niners aren't going to give him any more guarantees until he comes back and proves he's part of the team and looks like the guy that they want to guarantee money to. And so I don't see what the end is to this. And I'm kind of shocked that, and I know some people look at this as like, oh man, Niners got lucky here because they're going to get out from this contract. But I mean, the 49ers are really in a bad spot here as well. And it doesn't help Brandon. There's no winner in this situation. This doesn't help Aiyuk. He's going to make less money now. The 49ers don't have a receiver. They don't have any draft picks that they could have gotten if they would have traded Brandon Aiyuk originally last summer anyway. And now they're going to have some dead cap and have to try to figure out what they're going to do at wide receiver this offseason. So there's really no winners in this situation. It's not a great outcome for anybody. But apparently this is what Brandon Aiyuk wants. I don't know. Dwayne, how much guaranteed money did you walk away from in your career?
Guaranteed money. I had to earn every penny I made. We never heard of the word guaranteed. When you walked on the field, your paycheck was guaranteed for that game, but if you didn't show up, no pay. It's different today. Guys are, it's hard to say what they're thinking today. They think that, hey, I can go out and make $26 million, being a rapper. No, you can't. You can't go out and make that kind of money. You got to be out your mind. And if the chicken don't make it in the pan, you ain't got a chance, man. And I look at Brandon Aiyuk as a player who's very selfish, okay? And they made a mistake. I would have got rid of him in a minute and kept Debo. At least, Debo, when he's healthy, he plays hard. And you get a guy like Brandon Aiyuk, I guess he has a different way of doing things, and it's time for him to move on, completely take him out of the 49er clubhouse and take that number off his locker. Back in the day, we probably would have removed his number. We would have did it as a team. He would have came in and had a sheet hanging over his locker with burnt holes in it and some old stale fried chicken sitting on his stool. But that's how we would have handled it. Yeah, some cold chicken. Nobody wanted.
It all comes back to the chicken, right?
Yeah.
But there is something, I say that tongue in cheek, but there is something to that, I think, because we saw, the holdout last year and all the stuff, all the drama that went into Brandon Aiyuk getting eventually that massive contract that put him roughly in the same ballpark as many other top wide receivers across the NFL. And at the time, 49ers fans were all kind of saying, I don't know if this is worth it for this guy. I mean, I know I was kind of sitting there saying, I don't know if I really think Brandon Aiyuk is worth this, roughly $30 million a year. But at the same time, I felt personally like they didn't really have a choice. Dwayne, I get what you're saying about the Debo thing, where when he's healthy, he has proven to be a very valuable asset to this 49ers squad. But I thought it was time for them to move on from Debo. I thought that his physical, I mean, he just looked like he had put on some pounds. He looked less explosive. He didn't really seem like he was the same type of player anymore. He just didn't have those big explosive, breaking 15 tackles on the way to the end zone type of runs anymore that you kind of got from him his, in 2021 and 2022, et cetera. And I personally felt like it was time to move on, but I think very, very definitively now, if you're a 49ers fan, I mean, one guy's not on the field and one guy is. So the best ability in the NFL is availability. And if you were the 49ers, you felt at all like this was a possibility that this guy might have a character issue, or maybe not, maybe that's not the right term, but maybe might not gel with what this team wants to do going forward, if there might be future problems with him holding out and things like that, then why would you give this guy this massive, massive, massive contract and all that guaranteed money? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So my question is to both of you guys is, what do you think is causing this? And I mean, I know that usually we don't want to speculate on stuff like this, but I think it's impossible not to at this point when you have something go so awry like this, where, I mean, it wasn't that long ago that Brandon Aiyuk seemed like a happy man with his giant guaranteed contract. But at this point, to me, at least, it seems like there's a difference of opinion in something that is key for Brandon Aiyuk, and whether that's I have no idea what the hell that could be personally, but let's just spitball here, guys. What do you think could possibly be the situation that is driving the wedge in between Brandon Aiyuk and the 49ers?
Well, I think he has a problem with the locker room myself. I don't know how well he's accepted in the locker room. I'm not in that locker room, so I don't know. But usually when things like that happen out of the blue, that could be that could be some of the cause of him not wanting to even show up for work. And somebody must have said something in a negative manner to him, and he's taking it personal. I mean, to walk away from that much money, it's got to be more than just.
Yeah, and you wonder if I don't know if Dwayne disappeared there for a second. Oh, it looks like you're back. I was just going to jump in with the Kyle Shanahan stuff. You know, is it coach player? I know there's some ill will throughout all the contract dispute last offseason, but then, you know, that's more GM, that's front office stuff, and Kyle's not as involved in that. And he came back, and it seemed like everything was okay. There was the one incident at practice where he's trying to wear the wrong color shorts, and Kyle made him change. Was that enough? Because it starts to get, I mean, again, back to my 7-year-old, that's some father-son stuff there where you want your kid to clean the room and he won't do it, and you got to reprimand him a little bit, and then he gets mad, and it's like, but it's strange that there's nothing that I could see that would be a reason. I feel like a lot of times I think there's third parties too that we don't know about, whether it's, you know, I don't want to say what might be doing what behind the scenes, but like, you know, are you getting bad advice? You know, are your friends or family or somebody steering you the wrong direction? There could be a number of things here, and there's no rhyme or reason for it from our point of view, because it would seem like the perfect place for Brandon Aiyuk to be, a place where he's already excelled, a place where he could win, a place that already wanted to pay him, a place that, you know, the plan was get rid of Debo and, you know, sign the younger player in Brandon Aiyuk and grow that connection at wide receiver. And, you know, you're not guaranteed to go win wherever you go either. So none of it really makes sense on any angle, Dwayne, to me.
Well, you know, it goes back to where you said back to the chicken. You know, maybe he feels like his hen house is full, and what else can he do now? He's made it, and
Right.
he's got it in the bank. So, hey, why do I have to go out there and keep, you know, busting myself up for, you know, a short term career with injuries? And it could be that he's satisfied with what he has in the bank today.
And the other part of this that has crossed my mind is you were starting to lead down that road right there, Dwayne, is the injury situation. And a lot of times in the NFL, you'll hear of a player who, you know, thinks one thing, either they think they're ready to come back or they're not ready to come back. And then you have the team with kind of another perspective on the situation where maybe the player's individual personal doctor is telling him, hey man, I think you need a little more time. And the team doctor is saying, no, you are ready to go, get back out there and play. And obviously that will create some frustrations between the team and the player. And obviously we don't have any indication of what this could be, but I think that all of these things are possibilities, right? Like there's so many different things that it could be. And it's interesting to me that we haven't heard any like indication even of what this might be. There's been like very little cryptic stuff from Brandon Aiyuk, which again is very different from what we saw during the last standoff between Brandon Aiyuk and the 49ers. We were hearing all these, behind the scenes developments. I saw someone in the chat bring up the trade to Pittsburgh that was on the table, supposedly, that we all heard about through the media. And so my point is that whatever the hell is going on, I don't think either party wants to kind of divulge what's happening. It sounds like it's messy. Like, to me, that's what that says, that if neither party wants to kind of air it out, because we see players now more and more use social media, use their own platforms as a way to gain some leverage against these teams, right? Like, if they feel they're in the right and they're being wronged by their team, they have no problem airing out the team's dirty laundry on like an Instagram Live or something, or hopping on their podcast and doing it. But I mean, it's just not something that we have seen from Brandon Aiyuk. And all this stuff is really weird to me. But because it is so weird and so different from what we saw last time when they were eventually able to come to an agreement, that all makes me think that he is not going to be back with the 49ers. And I'm seeing in the chat right now from our guy, Ian Sharp, saying he was out at practice and then disappeared. Yeah, we were just talking about that before we got the show going. It was so interesting to me that we had Brandon Aiyuk out there running sprints on the sideline, and we heard all this stuff about how, he's looking really nimble, he's looking really fast, maybe he's healing faster than expected. And we heard all that stuff in preseason, like week 1, week 2, and then he just disappeared, and we have no idea where this man has been since then. It is just such a strange situation to me, especially the fact that he was kind of trying to showcase, hey, look what I can do, when he had no reason or real incentive to do that at practice earlier this year, and only to kind of, pull the rug out from everyone and just go off the face of the planet, just disappear. Like, this guy just got abducted by aliens out there or something, and we just haven't seen him since. It's all so perplexing to me, man.
Eric, there's one other angle to this that we're not really talking about, and maybe Brandon Aiyuk has this part right, because you look at all the injuries with the 49ers, maybe he should be rehabbing somewhere else, man. I mean, maybe there's something that they're not doing right, and he's like, man, I don't want another injury here. I need to go do what my doctor says, and maybe he's getting advice that way, and maybe that's part of it too. And I'm kind of half serious when I say that, but clearly he thought he had a better program somewhere else in the offseason rehabbing this injury.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things that this could be, but one thing is for certain, these two sides are, nowhere even close to being on the same page. They're not even in the same damn book at this point in time. Like, these two entities could not be farther apart. There is a Grand Canyon-sized chasm between the two, especially when you hear, like, how often does John Lynch give you his feelings about something? Like, I worked at KMBR for a number of years. I was the producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show, and I would call John before getting him on with the guys, and I would briefly talk to him. And John is like, I mean, whether he's on air or off air, my experience with him is that he is the most straight shooter of straight shooters that there is. He does not give you speculation. He does not talk to you about his feelings about certain things. It's just facts. He's a man who lives in facts, and he looks at players and what they can give the team in a very, numerical, and not just numerical, but a very analytic way. He's not a guy who lets his feelings kind of run things and doesn't often speculate about stuff. So when I hear a John Lynch come out and say that he doesn't think that Brandon Aiyuk, or he doesn't think that it's realistic that Brandon Aiyuk returns to the team this year, and that the key phrase for me was the very end of that statement, where he said, quote, "But that's probably what it is, hope." Right now, like that is telling, man. Like, John Lynch is not a guy who speaks in riddles and things like that. Like, he's telling you how it is. And if there's one guy to listen to, it's not Kyle Shanahan. It is John Lynch in this situation. John Lynch is the one who is going to shoot you straight, and he's shooting you pretty straight here when he's saying it's probably your best chance of Brandon Aiyuk coming back is a hope and a prayer. That's basically what he's saying. So I would put some stock into that. It's very frustrating. It's very upsetting, but man, I mean, I thought at least, like, the worst case scenario with Aiyuk in my mind was, if he signs that big deal and gets hurt and just isn't the same guy anymore, that would really suck. But man, I would take a half healthy Brandon Aiyuk right now over nothing. I mean, it's just a very, very frustrating situation all the way around.
Yeah, you see where John Lynch would be super frustrated too, because he probably was on the side of let's trade this guy last offseason. And I think Kyle was the one, if you believe the stories, he ran upstairs. I don't know how accurate it all was timing wise, but it was like a last second thing where he ran upstairs and it's like, no, let's sign him. We're good. We're gonna sign Brandon Aiyuk instead of trading him. And then you also have John Lynch, who's the conduit between the players and the staff and the coaches and then the ownership. And Jed York's probably like, dude, I just shelled out a pretty nifty check here to this dude. And he's not honoring it. Like, what's going on? And so there's probably a lot of frustration inside the building, and rightfully so, for the 49ers to be sitting there and wondering if a guy they just paid one of the biggest contracts they've ever given out is going to show up to work.
Yeah, well, I agree with John Lynch. He's a straight shooter, but the thing that John Lynch is too, that he probably wasn't real happy with the deal that they gave Aiyuk in the beginning.
Yeah.
And he is not making a big fuss about it. He's just going about it in a very professional manner. And I really believe it's on the other side, not his side, that they gave him a contract. Because he played the game, so he knows what it's like. He knows the people that he wants to line up with. And I think Brandon Aiyuk wasn't a guy that John Lynch went to line up and win with. And he, like you said, he is a guy who keeps it very low keyed and not going to put it out there like a lot of GMs do.
Yeah, and that deal was close. Like, the way I understand it from the Pittsburgh side is Mike Tomlin was like out in public, like at training camp. This was like in camp, and they do Latrobe, Pennsylvania training camp for the Steelers, and one of the few teams that still does that, where they kind of go away and they're in dorms and stuff, and they're in Latrobe, PA, and they're it's a small town, and he's out on the town after practice having some drinks, and Arthur Smith walks in, and they're like, and he, there's people around and journalists, and he's like, hey, we got a guy. You're going to be excited tomorrow. And like, they're hugging. They think the deal is done. Like, the deal was agreed to. And that's how close it was to Brandon Aiyuk going to Pittsburgh with the Steelers. And by the way, the New England Patriots wouldn't have been a bad landing spot for Brandon Aiyuk. I don't know if he's kicking himself now. He could have had a star quarterback and the 1 seed in the AFC, but apparently he nixed the deal not only to the Browns, but the New England Patriots as well. And that'd have been a nice little bonus for the 49ers to get a even higher, whatever it would have been, a second round pick last year, where the Patriots ended up selecting Travion Henderson at that spot. And who knows, maybe the 49ers could have drafted a guy like Luther Burden, which would have been an awesome fit. He was a high second round pick. Man, you talk about the lack of yak for the 49ers wide receivers right now. You could have really put a plan in place to replace Brandon Aiyuk, and instead they went through this whole offseason thinking they had Brandon Aiyuk and that he would be back at some point this season. And I think it's derailed a lot. So it's another reason why John Lynch is probably really upset with this whole thing. It's like, all right, well, we're going to take some guarantees back if this is the way it's going to be. Because I didn't really want to do this deal in the first place. And now you strung us along in the part of the offseason where we could have actually done something about the roster. And now it's too late when it comes to training camp. And you're not doing things right and rehabbing right. So yeah, all around, just odd situation. Nobody wins in this Brandon Aiyuk saga.
Yeah, and the thing I keep coming back to is, if he's getting all this guaranteed money voided, does this guy think he's going to go sign like a $30 million average annual value deal somewhere else? Like,
he's acting like he's going to get that same deal again this offseason, which he's out of his mind if he thinks the team's going to go give him a bunch of guarantees. He'll get he might get that Stephon Diggs deal, which is a little bit of a prove it deal. That's 3 years, but it can be 1 year if the team wants it to be that way. He's not going to get anywhere near what his last deal was. The teams will, especially not seeing him play coming off of that major injury, and some teams won't mess with the guy who's acted like this anyway.
Yeah, it's just been I keep saying the same word over and over again, but yeah, it's been really frustrating, man. Like just every aspect of this, and it feels like at a certain point, if you're John Lynch, if you're Kyle Shanahan, if you're Jed York, if you're the 49ers brass, you're probably pretty sick and tired of dealing with Brandon Aiyuk's BS over how many seasons can this drag on for now? Like, first it was the lead up to the contract and all the speculation of, is there going to be a holdout? Then there is this massive holdout. Then all the trade stuff. And then he comes back and, is he really going to, get back up to speed this season? Because he didn't, he held out all off season. Then the dude tears his knee and you're thinking, man, if he had just been here for training camp, maybe this doesn't happen. And now you have this whole situation after he's theoretically good to go. Like he's well past the point in time where we were told this guy is going to need this long to recover. We are well past that point. We have not been told about any setback or anything like that. So there's really, as far as we know, no real valid reason why this guy's not out on the football field. Yet the 49ers continue to make Christian McCaffrey go out and try and play wide receiver 1 and running back 1 every single week because they just don't have anybody else at that position. So it's very, very perplexing, frustrating, annoying, like all of these things and much, much more. But 49ers, despite not having Brandon Aiyuk, have fared pretty well this season. I mean, you're the passing game, if you look at the numbers, it might make you feel a little bit differently, but it's not just about, the box score numbers, right? It's about mostly the wins and losses. And the 49ers are sitting here at 9-4, heading into their bye week. And we got to talk about how high they could potentially climb next week or this week, even though they're not playing a football game. And even without Brandon Aiyuk on the team, I mean, at this point, turn the page. Like if you're the 49ers too, you're sitting there looking at your roster, what you've done without Brandon Aiyuk, and you're thinking probably, like if you're John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan looking at this roster and looking at what this team has done without Brandon Aiyuk, you're probably sitting there thinking, we don't need this guy. We're going to go to the playoffs without him, and we can probably go get somebody who will be much more available than this guy has been over the last 2 seasons for, a third of the price, even less. I mean, there's a lot that the 49ers can go and do with $30 million. And I think right now they're probably thinking we can get a lot more back for that $30 million than Brandon Aiyuk. And so I fully expect the 49ers to pivot this offseason. And I think we're done with seeing Brandon Aiyuk in a Niner uniform, which is a little sad and a little disappointing, especially because it's been so infrequent that the 49ers have actually hit on these early round wide receivers that they've drafted. So just a really unfortunate situation all the way around. We should probably move on to some other things here on this show today before we take up all of our time on this Brandon Aiyuk thing. We'll take a quick break, and on the other side, we'll get into some of these other things about the 49ers. How high can they climb in the standings this week, despite not playing a game? And one other thing that I wanted to get into before we hit this break, Dwayne, happy birthday, man. It was your birthday just a couple of days ago. You didn't tell any of us. I mean, my bad, hand in the air for not checking the back of the football card, but happy birthday, my guy. Did you
happy birthday, buddy? Hell yeah.
Hey, I pulled up that card and showed you the other day. You remember I had my birthday wrong?
You did.
My number wrong.
You told me that they had your birthday wrong, and my brain didn't process and think I should look at what that date is.
Hey, I try to keep birthdays a secret,
But yeah, man, hope whatever you got to do, you had a good time, and yeah, man, happy belated birthday. We won't miss it next year. We won't miss it next year. But for Dwayne's birthday, the 49ers got him a move up in the standings. We'll get into just how the 49ers are going to climb in the NFC playoff picture this week. Yeah, they're going to move up a spot, at least one, no matter what, even without playing a game. We'll explain everything on the other side here on the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. Today's show is brought to you by Aura Frames. The holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap, it's a way to share memories, because Aura isn't your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it, so when they plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps to figure out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. And this is a perfect gift for maybe your grandparents, some individuals in your life who might be a little technically challenged. I know my grandma and grandpa aren't exactly super fond of touch screens and in apps and things like that. So this is a perfect gift for someone in your life who might not be have all the bandwidth to work a gadget like this. Also, I know he's not watching, so I'm just going to say it. This is the perfect gift for your parents if you don't live close by. I am giving this to my dad for Christmas this year. I know he's not watching, so we'll throw it out there. If he is watching, then there goes my gift surprise. But perfect gift for the parents, especially if you don't live close by. They can feel like they're still involved in your life. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com. Get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code Locked On at checkout. That's Aura, AURA, frames.com, promo code Locked On. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome back to the Locked On 49ers Squad show. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, joined by my guys, 4-time Super Bowl champion Dwayne Board, and host of the Locked On 49ers podcast, Brian Peacock. And guys, 49ers this week, without Brandon Aiyuk even, and without playing a game even, are going to move up in the standings, and it's inevitable. It doesn't matter what the 49ers do. They are going to move up the standings. And just to give you guys a little bit of how that's going to happen, it's because of the Bears and the Packers play each other. So the 49ers are going to leapfrog one of those teams. Whoever loses, the 49ers are jumping ahead of them. And that's a good thing if you're the 49ers. I mean, right now you're looking at the playoff standings, and 49ers are barely squeaking in there. It'd be nice to have a little bit of a buffer between the 49ers and being completely out of the playoffs. You know what I mean? But there is a scenario in which they could end up as the #2 overall seed. Now, it would take a small miracle, couple small miracles. The Rams and the Seahawks would need to lose. Now, the Rams are playing against the Cardinals. Anything can happen in a division game, although the Cardinals have not exactly been world beaters this year. So that's relatively unlikely, but not impossible. And then the other aspect of this is the Seahawks, which they would need to lose to the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons just lost to the Jets. That feels a little less likely to me. Both of these things relatively unlikely to happen, right? Like, one of these teams is probably going to win this week, but there is a scenario in which the 49ers could find themselves in the #2 spot in the NFC. And I mean, talk about miracles, man. It is nothing short of a miracle that the 49ers are in this position at this point in the season, with all the injuries they've had, all the turmoil, all the, like, we had just spent the first 30 minutes of this show talking about the tumultuousness between the 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk. And that's not like the only thing that's been going on with this team this year. So Brian, that's pretty impressive stuff, man. I mean, how does that make you, like, when you just hear that, how's that hit your brain? When you hear that the 49ers could be the #2 overall seed in the NFC West after this week?
Well, I don't even like your phrasing, Eric. The 49ers will be the 2 seed after this weekend because the Falcons are going to knock off the Seahawks. The Cards are going to do a number on the Rams. And, it doesn't really matter what happens between the Packers and the Bears. And the 49ers are going to be in a great spot, I think, here. And so, look, it's really, I think it just really goes to show week in and week out what this league is all about and the parity. And that's the way that the people who designed this league want it to be. And it makes it pretty fun because I don't think anybody would be shocked if the Cardinals beat the Rams. They're touchdown favorites. The Rams are, and they should be. The Seahawks are touchdown favorites over the Falcons, but a lot of people pick the Falcons to be division winner and be one of the top 4 seeds in the NFC this year. And certainly a lot of people pick the Falcons to be better than potentially the Rams or the Seahawks coming into the year. Do you remember it wasn't that long ago when everyone's like, I don't know, man, the Seahawks just got rid of Geno Smith and he's awesome. And Sam Darnold might not be that good. And everyone's like, oh my God, great job bringing in Sam Darnold because Geno's cooked now because he's on the Raiders. A lot of people end up cooked when they're on the Raiders, which is kind of another topic, I think. But man, the 49ers just keep winning football games. And Croc and I went over this on yesterday's podcast on Locked On 49ers. It's just like, man, you could easily tell the story that the 49ers can beat any team in the playoffs in the NFC and end up in the Super Bowl. You can also tell the story that any of those teams could beat the 49ers any given week as well. And that's just where we're at. So I don't think anybody should be shocked if the Seahawks lose a game, if the Rams lose a game like they did last week. So, this is going to be fun down the stretch. It's going to be tight. And I have a feeling week 18, 49ers Seahawks is going to mean something.
Yeah, I mean, the longer we go down this road this season, we all kind of pegged that game at the beginning of the year as an important one, a big one. And 49ers Seahawks is always a big one. It's always an important one. But that game being the very last game of the year is, that's daunting stuff. I'm sure the Seahawks probably feel the same way, right? Like the 49ers have battled them for a number of years. And I don't think anybody in Seattle looks at the 49ers as a team that the Seahawks should dominate every time they play them or anything like that. So I bet the Seahawks, fan base, the 12s are probably sitting there feeling that a little uncomfortable about this too. I mean, it's a crowded NFC West right now with the 49ers, the Rams, and the Seahawks all kind of jumbled up there. And Dwayne, man, how do you see this playing out down the stretch? Do you think it's going to come down to that final game against the Seahawks?
I think it's going to come down to that, because if the 49ers go out and take care of business like I think they will do after coming off the bye, it's going to come down to that Seahawks 49er game. It's going to be as big as the Super Bowl for everyone in the Bay Area, because it's no love lost for either team. The Seahawks don't like the Niner fans, and the Niner fans don't like the Seahawks fans. So it's going to be one of those games. And when you think about it, hey, it's an inter conference game, and when you play in the conference game, it's a whole different ball game, man. You get up for them, just like back in the day when we played the Rams and we had to get up for them. We got up for them every game, man. For 18 times in a row, we beat the Rams. So it's going to be the same thing for the Seahawks and 49ers. The 49ers did a number on them up in Seattle. Okay, so why can't they do the same thing here? It don't matter who steps on the fields. Who. Well, I always say you gotta do what? When you're on the road, you gotta pack your special teams and defense. And
yep.
Seattle got a great defense, and I'm sure those guys that line up for the 49ers and in their hearts they're gonna say, hey, these guys aren't better than us. We're just as good as they are. So it's gonna come down to that. Manu, who's the best man at the end of the day?
And Dwayne, I ran across a statistic this Sunday, and I want to get this right. And I think you'll like this stat. And yeah, here it is. Same old sorry ass Rams is what it says.
Oh, you ran across that? Okay. that came out. The Rams
turned the ball over 3 times.
That came in back in the day in St. Louis when they were the St. Louis Rams.
Yeah.
When they was renamed the same old sorry ass Rams.
Oh man, yeah. And hopefully that's the Rams that shows up this week, right? Hopefully they lose that game to the Cardinals, and hopefully the Seahawks lose that game to the Falcons, and 49ers sitting there at the number 2 overall seed in the NFC. How crazy would that be, man? I mean, this team with no Fred Warner, no Nick Bosa, no Brock Purdy for half the season. Christian McCaffrey does not look like he's the same guy necessarily. Definitely not as explosive as he was in years prior. No Brandon Aiyuk. I mean, half your wide receiver core was gone for most of the season. You're still missing Cowing. Ricky Pearsall has not panned out to be as explosive and impactful as you thought he would be this year. Demarcus Robinson has been a swing and a miss. I mean, nothing has worked out for the 49ers as far as player health and all these situations that they found themselves in. I mean, the offensive line has been marred with injuries. The defensive line has been marred with injuries. It has just been a year from hell in a lot of regards in these aspects. Yet the 49ers continue to find ways to win. They continue to weather the storm and trudge on. And I mean, it's an absolute, we say this almost every show, but it's an absolute masterclass by the 49ers coaching staff, by Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh, to be able to have this team in the position that it is right now. It's absolutely bonkers. And just a kind of a random thing that popped into my head. Do you guys think it would be possible? Like 49ers team's looking like it's going to make the playoffs at this point, one way or another, right? Like they look like hopefully they will at least make capture a wild card spot at the bare minimum right now, as long as they handle their business, right? And I'm wondering, I know that he's out for the season, air quotes, but do you guys have a feeling that if the 49ers make the playoffs, you might see number 54 back on the field?
I think, I don't know if it was Kyle Shanahan or John Lynch might have addressed that a couple weeks ago, and they kind of shot it down. Now that's, I think that's more about let's not even get that story started. But in reality, I wouldn't be shocked at all if 54, wants to be out there. And, especially if we're talking about February, and an extra month could do a lot of good for him. I think not, though, from what I remember. And I don't have the direct quote in front of me, but I think Kyle Shanahan shot that idea down.
I remember him saying something about it, but I don't have the quote in front of me either.
But man, how cool would that be? I saw Frank Ragnow this week tried to come out of retirement and then failed his physical, and so that was the end of that.
Hamstring tear or something. Yeah. And the Lions had to say, "Sorry, buddy, no thanks, but no thanks."
Yeah.
But man, I keep seeing his he posts a lot of his workout rehab videos on his social medias, on his Instagram and stuff like that. And I'm telling you, man, he's lifting more on that ankle than I'm lifting on my perfectly not broken ankles. So this is a guy who played on a broken ankle all season last year. Has shown that he's got this crazy ability to come back from injuries, like Wolverine type healing time. This guy is like, it's a superpower that he has. And great athletes, we've seen this throughout the years. Dwayne, you can tell us about this too. When great athletes get hurt, they seem to come back a little bit faster than other guys do. It's just something about their DNA that is just wired differently than the rest of us. And man, I'm seeing Fred Warner up in the booth in the box every week, right? Like they always show the shots of him, and we've seen him go from, having that foot up and him laying back and having to elevate in compression and ice and all that to, Fred's not really, stationary while he's up there on these broadcasts anymore. Seems to be pretty animated, seems to be moving around. Maybe not the wild card round, right? But I'm thinking if they get to the NFC Championship, let's just say that the 49ers find a way to get there. I don't think you could send the National Guard in to stop Fred Warner from getting himself on that football field, man. Dwayne, have you what do you think about this? Do you think that there's a chance that if the 49ers make a run in the playoffs, maybe not the divisional game or the wild card game, but do you think that there's a chance that Fred, forces his way back onto this football field?
Well, I think he would be at John Lynch's door, beating the door down if they get to that spot, because he's a guy who has fire in his heart and the love for the game, and he wants to be there more than anything, and he'll make it just by what he's showing now, his rehab process. Guys who rehab 24 hours a day wanted more than anybody. A lot of guys just walk in the rehab room and lay up on the table and read the newspaper, read the USA Today, and get lunch and go home. And that's not Fred. Fred is working to get himself ready, to get himself back in the game, because he knows the team, and he knows where his heart is. And that's the guy you want to line up with day in and day out.
One note on where the 49ers are in the standings and making a run at this playoffs. The 49ers are in such a good spot right now to have this late bye and be in the situation where they're in, where they get to play the worst team in the NFL next week. Now you can't look past the Titans. You gotta be up for this game after the bye, but that gets you to 10 wins, and it likely punches their ticket to the playoffs. And we're talking about that Seattle game meaning something in week 18, it might mean the division, and the 49ers have the opportunity to be like, okay, man, against all odds, all these injuries, we're playing loose now. We're playing with house money. We made the playoffs. We got to 10 wins. Now we can play loose the rest of the way. Let's go. Let's run the table. Let's beat the let's beat the Colts. Let's beat the Bears. Let's go beat the Seahawks and go win the West even, and maybe even have a bye week in the playoffs. Who knows? But they can play loose because it's all house money at this point. When the 49ers notch their 10th win, it gets them to, I think the analytics say 94% or something like that after they beat the Titans in week 15 and be in a really good spot where you're already locked into a playoff spot. Now, now let's see how far you can climb. They're in such a good spot. The other bummer side of that coin, though, as you brought up with the coaching job the 49ers have done, it's like, man, this is one of those years where it's a little bit wide open. You probably aren't going to have the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl if you were to get there. And what a terrible year to lose Bosa and Fred Warner, because I think we'd have a different conversation about the 49ers right now if they were at full strength and what this team could possibly do in the playoffs and where they would be. And maybe they'd be the favorite to be the 1 seed and represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. And I think all those teams in the Patriots don't scare me. The Broncos don't scare me, even though they've won 9 straight. The 49ers, if they were at full strength, I think could beat anybody. And then what the bummer of it is then, okay, you go through the season, whatever happens, and it's like, oh man, we weren't at full strength. And now Robert Saleh goes and gets a head coaching job because he's done such a phenomenal job again as a defensive coordinator. And I know he's going to get interviews. Will he get a job? I'm not sure, but there's 100% chance that he will be on the list for interviews this offseason for head coach jobs. And then did you miss your opportunity? Was this like the year that everything was lined up perfectly and you just lost too many players and you were too undermanned to go finish the job and go win the Super Bowl? And then you're scrambling for a defensive coordinator next year, and who knows what happens in another year. Everyone's a year older. So a lot of good has happened this year with where the 49ers are, and it's really cool to see a team that's probably going to have at least a playoff game. But man, it's a bummer to see to think about what could have been if the 49ers aren't able to to achieve the ultimate goal this season.
Yeah, I mean that what could have been is going to loom large over, I think, this entire fan base, over the franchise. And I think that's exactly why, if you see the 49ers make a deep playoff run, I mean, I kind of, in this conversation, like I didn't really have an opinion one way or the other when I started thinking about it, when I just asked you guys just a few minutes ago what you thought either way. I think I've convinced myself during the course of this conversation that if the 49ers get to the NFC Championship or further, I'm going to be really shocked if I don't see Fred Warner out there on the field, just because of what you said right there, Brian. Like, is Fred going to be content with say he doesn't come back and the 49ers lose? How is Fred Warner going to feel sitting down for the rest of that offseason thinking, if I played in this game, would that have been different? Would we have a Super Bowl if I was out there on the field? And I think that he is not going to let that happen, because he's not going to even allow that as a possibility. I think Fred Warner finds his way onto the football field if the 49ers are playing games in late January and early February. And I mean, I think at this point I would be a little shocked unless he has like a setback in his injury recovery, because he's just that kind of guy, man. And I think for anybody else on the face of this planet, maybe literally any other NFL player that is active in the league, this would be a complete, like, insane topic to even throw out there. But it's Fred Warner, man. He's not like everybody else. He's completely different. He's the best defensive player in the entire league. Fully believe he would have won Defensive Player of the Year if he had stayed healthy this year. And I don't think that he's going to want to have that what if on the Defensive Player of the Year and on potential deep 49ers playoff run. I don't think he's going to be a man who's going to want to live with too many what ifs in his life. So we'll see what happens as the 49ers approach the end of the season. We're entering December, the final month. Well, I guess it's not the final month of the regular season now. We got a regular season game in January, but you know what I mean. It's the end of the season. It's time to make that playoff push, as everybody loves to term it. But what does a playoff push actually look like? Dwayne, we're going to lean on you a lot coming up in this next segment, man. You're going to have to tell us, how do teams get prepared to make a playoff push? What does that exactly look like? And what do the 49ers specifically need to do to make the playoffs? We'll dive into both of those things next here on the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. And with FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is the best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover, and FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. And lately, I've been riding with Christian McCaffrey bets lately. I mean, I feel like every single week this guy is hitting the over on his number of receptions, and I'm going to keep going with that on FanDuel. Plus, live spreads and money lines that adjust instantly, player props update as guys heat up, and you can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. And it keeps you locked in every snap, every drive for every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Welcome back to the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, joined by Dwayne Board, 4-time Super Bowl champion, and one half of the Locked On 49ers podcast, Brian Peacock. And guys, it's the NFL, the season where we all get to hear the term playoff push every single week, every single show that you're going to watch. Anytime you turn on NFL Live or whatever you're watching during the day, First Take, hopefully not First Take, but I'm not a fan of all the yelling at each other, man. I can't do that. I just can't handle the fake outrage and just screaming at each other all the time. It's just not what I want to watch as a fan. It's not very zen. If you are tuning in on the YouTube channel, you always see me wearing these tie-dye shirts, man. I got the long hair. I'm a hippie, man. I don't like yelling and confrontation. I mean, I do like it in my football, but I don't like it in my leisure time, man. I'm trying to calm down, relax, and watch a show. I don't need to listen to two guys screaming at each other and yelling over each other. Anyways, you're going to hear that term, playoff push, regardless of what show you're tuning into. And do we even know what the hell a playoff push is? I mean, we hear this term all the time, and what does that really mean? I mean, obviously, the pressure's on, and that's kind of what that means, but what's it look like internally? Like, Dwayne, is there like a different set of do practices look different? Like, are guys doing different things in their free time during this playoff push? Like, what does a playoff push look like to an NFL player inside the inside the whole operation?
Well, it's December, and December is playoff time. That's when the playoffs start. From when the calendar turns over, it's kind of like you got that Advent calendar. Every day is your day to prove yourself to the other teams around the league. A lot of teams, we always say, hey, that team, they're packing their bags, they're ready to go home for Christmas, and we never looked that way, and we always looked ahead of being around after Christmas and going on how far can you go. And when you're in the playoffs is every game now. It's not down the road. It's every game. You playing playoff football. When they come back from the bye, it's playoff time. So you got to win. You got to win. You got to win. And you don't want to go home. And we always looked at it, too, as everyone in the locker room became closer. We spent more time together. We watched film together. We talked things over. We had the coaches. Yeah, they gave us the scheme, but we went home. We took players home with us, okay? Guys would come home over and sit down. We watch film, and that's playoff time. It's not about, hey, I'm going to a Christmas party. Yeah, we're going to have the party after the season's over. And that's holding that trophy up in the air. And that's what the playoff is all about, is the trophy. It's not about, these guys make so much money today. Yeah, playoff money don't even count. And when you're holding that trophy and you put that ring on, nobody can take those two things away from you. Your name, every player's name is printed on that Lombardi trophy, and that trophy is going places. It's going to Canton, Ohio. You might not get there, but your name will be sitting in Canton if you put your name on a trophy.
Yeah, I mean, it's hopefully the season ends with the party on the center of Levi's Field, which is where the Super Bowl will be held this year, and not in Cancun. So the majority of the teams, every team in the NFL goes and has that final party, not on the field at the end of the season. There's only one team that gets to hoist that Lombardi, one team that gets to call themselves the champions. And Dwayne, what is what is it that the 49ers need to do, like absolutely need to do, in order to make sure that they're that team? I want you to complete the sentence. The 49ers will win the Super Bowl this year if
they get that running game going where they can play ball control. And when you're playing ball control, it gives your defense a chance to get rest. And when they come back out, defense got to be no one, nowhere will out hit you. Okay, it's a game of flying around and putting dents in helmets. That's what it's all about on defense.
And hopefully that defense can continue what they've been doing, because their last two games, man, single-digit scores for their opponents. Robert Saleh has basically been pitching the football equivalent of like maybe not a shutout, but like a complete game, like two-hitter. Like that's basically what this defense has been doing the last couple of games. Like Brian, your Giants hat, I had to work a baseball reference in, you know what I mean? But
it's like Russ Ortiz handing the ball over to Dusty Baker.
No, hopefully we don't have a situation like that. It's the last thing we want, but hopefully it's like the opposite of that. Hopefully it's Madison Bumgarner coming in to get a 6-inning save and lock things up. That'll be Fred Warner this year when he comes back from injury, when the 49ers are in the NFC Championship. But Brian, same question to you, man. The 49ers will win the Super Bowl this year in 2026 if
they get extremely lucky. As fun as it is to say, look, man, this team keeps winning and there's something special about them, and I agree to a certain extent. We've seen some games where, like the second Rams game and the Houston game and Tampa, you just see some games where it's like, man, I don't see them being able to week after week beat really good teams. Because I just think they are too undermanned in the end. But I like the way Dwayne put it, because the most important thing the 49ers can do is play that Kyle Shanahan brand of football, where they're staying in front of sticks, they keep the game close, and then you can keep everything, you can call the entire playbook if you're Kyle Shanahan, and you don't have to, abandon your game plan, and you don't have to become one-dimensional, and you don't have to rely on just going and pass rushing on defense, or you don't have to rely on one thing on defense where a team can just go at you in a one-dimensional way. And the 49ers have done a good job of being able to do that, play good defense, play good special teams. Do they have the horses in the end? I'm not sure. Another question that kind of popped into my mind, Dwayne, you talk about December, and it's a 17-game schedule now. And, how tough is it? Have you ever been in games where you were completely gassed, whether you played a lot of snaps in that game or just at the end of the season? And the 49ers are relying on a lot of rookies right now. And did you hit the rookie wall when, and I don't think it was quite the same when you came into the league, with how much time and effort and training everyone put into the combine and all that stuff in the offseason. But it's a longer season than the college season, and a lot of these rookies never rested after the end of their college season because they were prepping for the draft and went right into rookie minicamp, and you're off into your first NFL season.
Well, back when I played, we played 16 games straight. We didn't have that bye. And when you got to go 16 games in a row, you usually hit that point at about week 10. And then somewhere in between week 10 and week 16, you find a way. And the practices became less physical, but on the field became more. And that's what made us different, because a lot of teams didn't change the way they practiced during the year. And we did. We knew our responsibility. So all we wanted to do was get it fine-tuned with knowing what to do. When you know what to do, you do it faster. And that's the thing that I've seen with this defense is the last couple of weeks, they've been playing it faster because they understand the defense more. And you mentioned it earlier, talking about relief pitchers, That's what the 49ers are playing with. They got relief pitchers, but now they becoming starters. So you don't
it's a bullpen game. Yeah,
it's a bullpen. Whose bullpen is going to come alive in December? That's the key. And I really do think that, you'll see a different team come out after the bye.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a challenge for the 49ers to get all the way to the Super Bowl, let alone win the Super Bowl. But I think that if I'm going to complete the sentence now, the 49ers will win the Super Bowl if they find an explosive playmaker on the offensive side of the ball. I really do feel like that is the one thing that is kind of the thing they can't keep up with, right? Like if they're playing a team that is just putting points up and putting points up and putting points up, and there's a dynamic duo or whatever on the other side of the ball. So just if they have a guy that, say they run into the Bills and Josh Allen is just having a game, man. Like he's just taking over. He's doing Josh Allen things. He's got a rushing touchdown, 350 plus passing yards and 3 passing tubs. How do you keep up with that? And the answer to that is an explosive playmaker on the offensive side of the ball for the 49ers. And Christian McCaffrey's still sitting there, still wearing the same number 23, still in the in the gold and the red, and still doing things for the 49ers, leading them in rushing and receiving, leading the whole league in touches. But he's not that same explosive guy. Without Brandon Aiyuk, you'd have a little bit less explosive plays. George Kittle has had a hard time kind of busting things open because there isn't that threat of another big playmaker anywhere else on the field right now. And so I think that the one thing that will really unlock this 49ers offense and allow them to keep pace with some of these other teams that might just start running roughshod over this very, very, very injured defense, it is a big playmaker. And it can be really, anybody can step up. I mean, equal opportunity here, you know what I mean? But the one guy for me who I think can really fill this role is Ricky Pearsall. And we've been talking about him all year long as the guy who's probably got the best speed on this offense, the guy who's probably got the most explosive playmaking ability on this offense right now outside of George Kittle. And it's time, man. It's time for him to step up. And I know that we were talking about the rookie wall and all that. And while he's not a rookie, Ricky Pearsall has endured enough injuries in his early football career that it's basically more or less on that same timeline as a rookie at the end of their first NFL season, maybe a little bit beyond that. But my counter to that would be the college football season has never been as long as it is right now. Like these guys are playing a lot of games in college. It is not, it's not like they're playing, 10, 11 games anymore in the NCAA season. It's a lot longer, especially when you consider bowl games and playoff games in college football and et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of opportunities for guys to get more work in now. And I do think that it's time for this guy to step up. The 49ers spent a high draft pick on him. This is why they drafted Ricky Pearsall, so he could be a big explosive playmaker, be that replacement to Deebo Samuel in the future of the Yak Bros. He's got to show us something with that big play ability that we saw from him in college and we've seen from him in spurts here in the NFL, but we haven't all seen it click yet. And I think that is the missing piece for this 49ers offense. We've got to take one last real quick break here. On the other side, we'll wrap up this show for you. I got one very specific question that I want to ask Dwayne Board, and then we'll move on with this show, wrap it all up, and I would say send you on your way to hopefully another 49ers win, but we'll send you on your way to whatever the hell you like to do on your bye week when the 49ers aren't playing football on Sunday. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. Welcome back to the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. I'm your host, Eric Triple E. Engel, joined by my guys, Dwayne Board, 4-time Super Bowl champion, and Brian Peacock, one half of the duo of the Locked On 49ers podcast. And Dwayne, I got one question for you before we get on out of here real quick. What did Dwayne Board spend his bye week doing when he was still putting on the pads? What was a bye week like for you typically when you were still playing?
Well, back in the day, only bye week we got is where we won the division, and we got the bye week off. What I did was I did what I normally do. I went to work, I worked out, I ran, got myself ready to play. But now at the end of the season, it's a whole new game. Where after we went in the playoffs and we won the Super Bowl, it was, hey, every we call it holiday in Hawaii after the Super Bowl.
I think we might have to go off the air with some of those conversations about what happened
we
with
can't
party
really
back.
tell the whole story with all.
Oh man.
Hey, Eric, if we're daring to dream here, and we're talking about the 49ers making a run, right? And you're talking about finding a playmaker. Well, how about Fred Warner on his way to Levi's Stadium just picks up Brandon Aiyuk on the way, and they both run through the tunnel for that NFC Championship game?
Man, we can dream, right? We can dream. You said it perfect right there. If we're daring to dream, why not dream big? You know what I mean?
My take is on Fred. That's what I'll lay my money on.
Yeah.
I don't think Brandon will even show.
He might already be in Cabo.
Yeah. Maybe Brandon say, if you're out there in Cancun, keep an eye out for Brandon Aiyuk. Let us know if you've seen him anywhere out on a catamaran or something. Maybe swimming with the porpoises down there. I don't know. I've never been to Cancun, so I don't know what you do down there. But obviously you're doing beachy stuff. But yeah, man. I mean, it's funny now to watch what guys get into during the offseason. Like I correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't George Kittle have like a WWE appearance during 49ers bye week, like last year or the year before? I mean, where no pro wrestling cameos for you, Dwayne, during your playing career?
Back in the day, Fred Dean and I went to Las Vegas and they had an arm wrestling tournament. We brought home the trophy.
Nice. I remember being a kid and seeing 49ers tight end Russ Francis. I think it was in the WrestleMania, wasn't it?
He was. He wrestled at the Cow Palace. We all went to see him wrestle one time. He came out, wearing a mask, and he wrestled under some name like whoever knows. And then he wanted everybody to come into the locker room. We go in there, they all sitting around smoking cigarettes, drinking tequila, having beers.
Yeah.
Like, man, wrestling is not a bad gig.
Yeah, so George Kittle's not the first 49ers tight end to dabble in the World Wrestling Federation, is what it was then.
Yeah. I did not know that. It's an interesting piece of trivia. If I was out at our guy Brian, if I was out at our guy Tim Webb's trivia night on a Tuesday down at the bitter end, and I heard somebody and Tim threw me a question of who was the first 49ers tight end to appear in WrestleMania, I would have answered George Kittle. I would have been wrong. So here's your piece of 49ers trivia for today. Before we get on out of here, man, we should I don't know what your Tuesday schedule is like, Brian, but we should form a team and go visit our old buddy Tim one of these days when
I lived in the city. I used to frequent the bitter end Tuesday trivia. It's the best trivia in town for sure. But I could be coaxed into I'm only 10 minutes away from driving across the Golden Gate Bridge into the city. So I could be convinced to get there on a Tuesday night for that.
We'll have to make it happen sometime in the future. We can have a Locked On 49er Squad Show trivia team and see if we can go and win the coveted Tim Webb award. I don't know what he called it. He should have like a trophy that he gives out. That's what I think.
It's the trophy comes in liquid form in a cup.
Exactly. Well, we'll see if we can make that happen sometime here in the future. But for today's show, that's all the time that we got for you guys on this one, a 49ers bye week with not a ton of news, but still some stuff to get into. And hey, everyone's going to be happy this week if you're a 49er fan, because at the end of the week, you're moving up in the standings no matter what happens, as we explained to you earlier on in the show. And whatever you guys do on your 49ers bye week, whether it's watching other NFL games or getting out and maybe doing a little pro wrestling excursion like George Kittle would do, then whatever you're doing, hope it's a good one. We also got to figure out if we're gonna have a Sunday show or not, guys. So we'll talk about that and figure it out. We'll follow Brian and myself and Dwayne on Twitter, and we'll update you guys there, or X, whatever the kids are calling that website these days, and follow us, and we'll update you on everything you need to know about when our next show will be. It's all the time that we got for you guys today here on the Locked On 49er Squad Show. For Dwayne Board, for Brian Peacock, I am your host, Eric Triple E. Engel. We'll see you next time. Peace.